Shadows on the staircase. Anya had always dreamed of having her own home. When she was offered a chance to rent a small but cozy cottage on the outskirts of town at an affordable price, she immediately agreed. The house was old but had a certain charm: a massive wooden staircase with ornate railings, high ceilings, and large windows overlooking the forest. The landlady, an elderly woman with piercing eyes, gave Anya a tour of the house and said as she was leaving, "Don't disturb the staircase at night." The words sounded strange, but Anya decided to ignore them, assuming it was just one of the old woman's eccentricities. The first few days in the house were peaceful. Anya arranged her belongings, placed books on the shelves, bought plants, and enjoyed the quiet. In the evenings, she would light candles, read, and listen to the wind rustling the trees outside her window. But on the fourth night, everything changed. She woke up to a strange sound. The house was silent, but she thought she heard a faint rustling, as if someone was carefully treading on wooden boards. Thinking it was just the wind, Anya pulled the blanket over herself and tried to fall asleep. But after a few minutes, she heard something else, a faint knocking sound, as if someone was slowly climbing the stairs. Her heart raced, but she tried to convince herself it was nothing, a neighbor's cat, perhaps, that had somehow wandered into the house. Summoning her courage, Anya grabbed a flashlight and headed toward the staircase. The staircase looked normal, but the flashlight's beam revealed strange shapes on the walls, as if shadows were moving independently. She descended a few steps and suddenly felt an eerie chill beneath her feet, as though the staircase itself was drawing warmth from her. Fear overtook her, and she quickly returned to her bedroom. She spent the rest of the night wide awake. The strange events multiply. The next day, Anya tried to rationalize what had happened. She chalked it up to fatigue and her imagination, but the oddities continued. Each night, the rustling sounds became louder, and the shadows on the staircase grew sharper. They didn't just move, they began to resemble human figures. On the fifth day, Anya discovered an old book lying on one of the lower steps of the staircase. She was surprised she hadn't noticed it before. The book was covered in a thick layer of dust and appeared ancient. Its cover bore a strange symbol she didn't recognize. Back in her room, she leafed through the book. It had no text, only illustrations. On one of the first pages was a drawing of a house that looked just like hers. Another showed the staircase, but its steps were entangled in something dark, resembling smoke. The final illustration was the most unsettling. A figure in a long cloak stood at the top of the staircase, surrounded by dozens of shadows. Anya felt a wave of dread. Panic surged within her. She decided to call the landlady to ask about the book and the strange occurrences. "A warning, I told you not to disturb the staircase," the old woman said sternly. "That place isn't for the curious." Anya demanded an explanation, but the landlady remained vague. All she said was, "The staircase doesn't like to be disturbed at night. If you've touched the book, keep it with you, but don't go downstairs, no matter what you hear." The cryptic words left Anya uneasy. That night, despite the warning, she couldn't resist. The sounds from the staircase had grown louder, creaks, as if someone was walking slowly, followed by a dull thud, like a heavy object falling. Once again, she grabbed her flashlight and stepped into the hallway. Confrontation with the unknown. On the staircase, she saw shadows that seemed all too real. They moved, writhing like serpents, inching closer to her. She shone the flashlight at them, but it didn't help. They became even clearer, and soon, faces began to emerge from the shadows. The faces were distorted, with hollow eyes and mouths that emitted incomprehensible whispers. The sounds filled her head, repeating the same word over and over: "Return." Anya ran back to her bedroom, slammed the door, and tried to calm herself. She realized the key to everything lay in the book, but what was she supposed to do with it? The ritual. The next day, Anya sought answers from her neighbors. At first, they were reluctant to talk, but an elderly woman named Maria finally opened up. "That house is cursed. Years ago, a family lived there, but they disappeared without a trace. They were the last of a lineage that guarded ancient secrets. After they vanished, strange things began happening in that house. No one could explain it, but everyone agreed on one thing: the trouble always started with the staircase." Anya paled. She remembered the landlady's warning about the staircase not liking to be disturbed. "And the book?" Anya asked. Maria sighed deeply. "The book isn't just an object, it's a key. It binds whoever touches it to the staircase. Have you seen it?" Anya nodded. "Then you must finish what you started," Maria said. "Otherwise, they won't leave you alone." Returning the book. That night, Anya prepared herself. She found the book back on the same step where she had left it, but now its pages had changed. On one of them was a new illustration. It showed her standing at the top of the staircase, with shadows reaching up toward her. What does this mean? She wondered, staring at the page. That night, armed with a candle and a protective charm Maria had given her, Anya descended the staircase. As soon as she stepped onto the first step, whispers filled the house. The voices grew louder with each step she took. When she reached the middle of the staircase, she stopped. The shadows had gathered around her but didn't attack. They seemed to be waiting. "What do you want?" she cried. A deep, resonant voice replied, "Finish what was started." The sacrifice. She remembered Maria mentioning a ritual. In the book, one of the pages contained symbols. Anya tried replicating them on the wooden steps using chalk. With each completed symbol, the shadows grew more agitated, their whispers intensifying. When the final symbol was drawn, the shadows began converging at the center of the staircase. They formed the figure of a man in a long cloak. It was the same figure she had seen in the book, but now, its face was visible, aged, gaunt, and filled with pain. "You must close the circle," it said. "Offer a sacrifice." Anya froze. What kind of sacrifice? The figure pointed to the book. That's when she realized she had to destroy it. Breaking the curse, she ran to the fireplace. The shadows howled, trying to stop her, but she threw the book into the flames. The house shook as though its very foundation was crumbling. The shadows screamed, then vanished, as if they had never been there. When it was over, the staircase looked normal again. It no longer exuded that strange coldness, and the house felt warm and quiet. Epilogue. Months passed. Anya heard no more sounds at night. She began to feel safe again. But one day, while sorting through her belongings, she found a small piece of paper that had survived the fire. It bore a drawing of the house and its staircase, with a note below it: "The circle is closed, but time is not." Since then, every night, she checks to make sure the hallway door is locked.